Okay, now we are on our way to Kinshasa. We'll be there in 1 hour. We're flying with Brussels Airlines, as you can see. And it's not a coincidence because Congo has a long relationship with Belgium. The history of Congo is that it started out as being the private colony of the King of Belgium, King Leopold II. And what was with him that he was in the middle of the 19th century. He wanted to have a colony like all the other. He could see that it was for Portugal and England and all the other countries. It was really good business to have a colony, but he couldn't really convince his prime minister and the parliament. So at the end, at that time, the big heroes of the heroes of the world was it was before the movies and all this. So the big heroes were the people traveling out to the white spots on the map. So people like Stanley, for instance, who went down and found Mr. Livingstone, I presume. He was one of these heroes. And when he came back from this travel to Africa, where he found Livingstone, the Belgian king invited him over for tea and hired him to go back up at the Congo River and to sign all the local chiefs, either force them to sign or trade them to sign contracts that it was his private colony. And then he built a big railroad from the western sea, from the west coast and up to the highland where you could sail on the rivers. And he almost used all his money on this because at that time there was not coming so much out, a little bit of ivory and stuff like that, but he was not really making a lot of money and he was investing so much. But then what happened was that in 1890 the rubber wheel was invented. And then the world's demand on rubber just exploded. And all through the first half of the 20th century, we got most of the rubber came from plantage, from trees in Southeast Asia. But it took 15 to 20 years to grow these trees in the Southeast Asia. And in this period, all the rubber in the world, almost, it came from Congo. And what they did was before they had been able to catch some of the local black people, Africans, and whip them to do whatever they want, to build railroad and whatever, to use them as slaves. But now the Belgian king's government in Congo needed them to go out in the landscape in every direction and to find these rubber, to climb into the trees and to get it out of these wild plants growing in the jungle. And then they have to get the rubber out, and after they took it out, they had to rub it all over their body in order for it to dry when they walked home. And this was, of course, especially the first time, a very painful experience when you had to take it off, like a full body waxing or something like this. So this was not something that you could easily make the Congolese do. So what they did was that they invented in Brussels, they invented this way of doing it, and they made this manual which was distributed in thousands of numbers all over Congo. And this manual described how to do it. You should go out in the village, when the villagers they saw the white man, they ran away because they knew then that the white man was always trouble. But then you just have to sit and wait because the villagers they would come back to get food or weapons or something. And then you just had to catch some of them, and when you thought you had enough, you just had to send someone out to negotiate, saying, if you don't collaborate, we will kill all the hostages. And in this way, all the rubber was produced, all the rubber used in the world from 1890 until 1910 all the rubber in the world came from Congo and was produced in this way by slavery, by this terror state that was the private colony of the Belgian king. Not the Belgian state, but the private colony, and he became one of the richest men in the world in this period. And today it's estimated that, it is estimated that in this period from 1890 to 1910, approximately somewhere in between 8 and 12 million people died in Congo. And according to our story, and in relation to our story, and Nokia is very relevant in this content, because Nokia started out as a rubber factory 100 years ago. So they of course got their rubber from Congo. So they were in the beginning of this story. From the very beginning, they have been, living or making a profit from the poverty and the terrible things going on in Congo. So now we are getting closer to Kinshasa. We are hoping very much that we will get into the country without any problems, and that we will get all our equipment in. The plane won't fall down. It seems like very rusty plane that we're flying. But that's it.